Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Being 6 o'clock, we'll proceed with our special council meeting under item number 1.1. Gail, please.
Be it resolved that we do call this special meeting of council to order on Monday, May 30th, 2022 at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Moved by, please.
I'll move it.
Councilor Peter Kissemaker, seconded by Councilor John Peroff. All in favor?
Aye.
Agreed. Carry. Thank you. Item number 2. Indigenous land acknowledgement. The Council Corporation Township of Hornepayne would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that the land on which we gather here today is Treaty 9, 1905-1906 territory, the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples. As we work toward conciliation, may we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendships with all its diverse peoples. Thank you. Item number 3, review and note any changes to the agenda, Gail.
There are no changes tonight.
Being none, we'll proceed. Item number 4, approval of the agenda. Gail, please.
Be it resolved that council does hereby approve the agenda as presented.
May I have a mover, please, and a seconder? Moved by Councilor Belinda Kissemaker, second by Councilor John Peroff. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 5, disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof, declaration of conflict of interest. Seeing none in front of me, however, you may declare it anytime during the meeting. Thank you. Item number 6. Please go ahead, Gail. I can't hear you. Sorry, Gail.
Let me try that again.
Thank you.
Be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby accept the consolidated financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2021, as prepared and presented by BDO Canada LLP.
Thank you. We'll get the mover seconder after the presentation. Welcome, Nathan, to our virtual council meeting. Hopefully, soon we'll be live and in person. And the floor is yours, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me all right, just to start? Yeah, okay. I never know whether I got it right because there's so many different platforms here to work with. So okay, I'm going to share my screen. It is nice to see everybody. Obviously, it was good to be up in person to see Gail and Melissa and the rest of the staff. And would have been nice to see everybody in person on the call, but not quite yet. Not quite yet. Hopefully I get it right. Can everybody see my screen there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, you can see the screen, okay. Yeah, it comes up a bit. I'm just gonna set myself up here so I can still see everybody. Okay. Well, no, I'm just gonna go back one page. Seems to be working. Okay. So thank you all for having us tonight. I'm going to go through the financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2021. Obviously, it's a bit of a different year, and you know we are hopefully seeing the end of the major effects of the pandemic. But obviously, throughout 2021 and even into 2022, we still saw the effects of COVID-19. When we started the pandemic, we didn't really know the full impact on society, and didn't know the full impact on townships and companies, and now it's getting to be more clear, you know, what is happening, and you know, that really, you know, obviously there are some impacts. We do see inflation right now is a serious issue, but for the most part, we seem to have gotten out of it relatively unscathed from a municipal point of view. So I will go through. I'll start with the audit opinion. So our responsibility as auditors is to collect audit evidence and then to deliver an opinion based on that evidence on whether the financial statements are fairly stated. So based on all the evidence that we collected for the 2021 year, this is what's called a clean audit opinion, and we found no issues in the current year. I'm just going to go down just 2 pages, and I'll make sure I don't go too far here. But so I do like to start with the statement of operations, and this year is a bit different because I'm, as you all recall, you do have a municipal services corporation now, and included in these financial statements is a consolidation of the assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenditures of that municipal service corporation. Okay, and as you all recall, the Hornepayne Housing Corporation did acquire the apartment building in late 2021. So we do have all those operations consolidated within these financial statements. So we just have to keep that noted as we go through it. So just line by line, taxation. So quite comparable year to year. There was a write-off of some taxes that occurred, and it was about $50,000. So included in that just over $1.9 million, it is netted with any write-offs that are done in the year. So they are very comparable year to year, but you do have to take that into account. Federal and provincial grants. Federal grants, biggest part of that is some economic development grant money included in the federal government grants, and there are some other grants as well related to a few infrastructure projects. Provincial, we do see a decline year to year, just over $1 million to just under $900,000. The major portion of the provincial grants, about $600,000, relates to the OMPF funding. There are some other funding pools as well related to some infrastructure projects, but nothing too substantial like we saw in 2019 and prior, where you know the amount of infrastructure grants were very significant. User fees and service charges. So this would include the water and sewer, as well as anything like the arena, curling, whatever fees you would charge to individuals. This would be included in the 1.291 figure, and obviously we do have to remember that 2020 had a terrible impact in terms of COVID, and a number of programs obviously weren't at the levels they were at in 2019. So we do see some of those user fees coming back to what we would have seen in the year prior. Licenses, permits, and rents. So this is increasing year to year, 137 to 185. This is where we're going to see the impact of the Hornepayne housing, and the rents that are collected are going to be through this line item here. So one area that continues to be a struggle, and it shows in in this line item, penalties and interest on taxes. So current year, $96,000 compared to 56 in the prior year. Still, the tax receivable are still quite high for a municipality your size. Obviously, it's no secret to anybody. We've been dealing with this issue for many years, but obviously COVID did not help the situation. But you know, obviously there's hope that better days are ahead in Hornepayne. They seem economically, things seem to be really picking up, which is really good to see. And one thing I will note, if you look at gain or loss on tangible capital assets and land inventory, so this is probably one of the most positive things that I saw this year was the amount that you're realizing on the sale of properties is improving quite dramatically. And as a result, some of the allowance for write-down has actually been reversed in the current year. And we also saw the sale of a piece of property for the new hotel. And it was actually a pure gain because that piece of land was only on the books for $1. So we see that amount in there as well for the gain. So that is a good news story, I would say, in the current year. Expenses. So actually, general government protection services, very comparable year to year. Nothing really extreme year to year in those areas. Transportation, which would be your roads and whatnot, actually went down year to year. 900 down to $837,000, which again is positive that the maintenance that you were needing in 2021 wasn't as significant as in the prior year. Environmental services, which would be the water, sewer, and landfill and whatnot, increase about $80,000 year to year, which is quite reasonable, considering all the pressures on costs that we're seeing. Health. So this is from your social services board that actually went down. This is a levy from the in this case the Porcupine Health Unit. And it actually went down year to year, which is good. So this is the one where we see the big difference: social, family, services, and housing. So this is where we're going to see the costs related to the Hornepayne housing. There's also some costs related to the Porcupine Health Unit, but 143 to 364,000. So this is where we're going to see the costs related to the apartment building going forward. Recreation, cultural, down year to year, as well as planning and development. There was a lot of one-time costs in the prior year, various reports that were being done, and in the current year, really not as much in terms of expenditure, especially on the planning and development side. Overall, deficit in the current year of $115,097. I do say to take this number on the statement of operations with a grain of salt. I do like to look at how that amount is allocated, because it used to be that we would, when it came to capital assets, we would expense them in the year that they're actually purchased, and the related grant would offset them. Well, now we have to capitalize capital assets and amortize them over time. So if we were to look at that deficit in the current year, you did use up or allocate $218,000 in reserves. But as of this date, between the general surplus and the library, there is about $190,000 in a general surplus in the current year that can be allocated to reserve by mayor and council if they so choose. So overall, the numbers aren't too far off, but we do have we do have a general surplus, which is positive anytime you have that. I do want to go back to the statement of financial position. So this is looking at basically the assets, liabilities, and the equities at December 31st, 2021. So cash and cash equivalents are almost spot on year to year. So up about $50,000, and that makes sense when you think about the use of the reserve funds almost matching what the surplus is, the general surplus is for the year. So it does make a lot of sense when we think about that. Tax receivable still very high. This is basically when we look at what your levy is each year, 25% of your taxes are outstanding that have been levied. Usually, I like to see it near 5 to 10%, but obviously there have been a lot of challenges that Hornepayne has faced in terms of the economy over the last many years. So there's still a lot of challenges when we come to the tax receivable, and we have to also take into account there was a write-off of $53,000 in taxes during the year. So the decrease in tax receivable, it's we do have to keep that in mind when we're looking at that. Accounts receivable, we do have an increase year to year. There are some grants that are receivable at year end for some infrastructure projects. So they're the major reason for the increase. This is a new one year to year, and you don't see this on every municipality. Portfolio investments. So through the Hornepayne Housing Corporation, there was a investment in the new hotel project. So we do show investments where the ownership is less than 25%. It's what's called a portfolio investment. So this portfolio investment will stay the same. It won't fluctuate over time. It'll stay at $150,000. And any income that comes in from that investment will go straight to the bottom line. But that's what the $150,000 is. Inventories for resale, again, this will vary year to year, depending on the fuel at the airport and whatnot. So it is up 24,000 to 37,000 at year end. Accounts payable, very comparable year to year, 410 and just down to 381,000. Deferred revenue is up. The majority of the deferred revenue of the $817,000 relates to gas tax. So the federal gas tax has been specifically earmarked for a project. So that's at $340,000. And there's some Ontario funding as well. The OSIP funding at $246,000 is deferred to be used in future years. Long-term debt, we see this increase in the current year, and there was no actual new debt that was incurred by the township, but as part of the acquisition of the apartment building. There is a new Northern Credit Union mortgage that goes with that, and at year end, there's about $320,000 owing on that debt. The other four loans that the township had, they all just decreased by their normal principal reduction. Two are due in 2026. One is due in 2028, and the largest infrastructure loan, where $947,000 is owing, is due in August of 2042. So, solid waste post closure. I know I talked about this a lot last year, and by the looks of the reports that you generated in the current year, you obviously are taking it quite seriously that the landfill is reaching the end of its life. And I read several of the reports on some of the options that are available to the township. And one of the positive things I noted was I thought there was only a year left, and one of the reports had indicated there was 3 years left in this landfill. So the amount of increase actually was not as significant as it has been in the last few years, simply because we've stretched out the time period. Inventories for resale, 235,000. So this would be all the land that the municipality has vested over the years, and it is increased because I was able to reverse some of the allowance that has existed in the prior year, based on the increase in property values. It does appear more likely that you're going to realize the amounts that are shown as cost right now for the land. And it's obviously a challenge to turn some of this land into new houses, but hopefully that will come in the future, and that in turn will help generate additional tax revenues for the municipality. Tangible capital assets, you see very little change this year in the number, 14,784,000, and it's down to 14,763,000. But included in this is we acquired about 750,000 in new assets, but there is also what's called amortization expense, which is the write down of those assets over time of 770,000. The main component in the additions of capital assets this year related to the apartment building through Hornepayne Housing Corporation. So after taking in all those costs, it was about $400,000 addition. There was also some infrastructure additions in the township, as well as additions in the gyms and playground as well for Hornepayne. So touch on a few items. Sorry, I don't mean to be going so quickly there, but so note 6. So if you're wondering on the makeup of all the long-term debt, you'll see the first 4 loans, which are the Township of Hornepayne, and the final loan here, the new one in the current year, is the Hornepayne Housing Corporation on consolidation with the township. Solid waste post closure. So this just indicates all the all the notes regarding the potential costs related to closure of the landfill, and the estimate in terms of how long we expect this landfill to be available. obviously, it is in its final few years, whether it's 3 years, whether it's 4 years or 5 years, it is in its final years, and obviously a decision has to be made there. And then note 9 does have the details of the portfolio investment, which just indicates what is owned related to Hornepayne Housing Investment Corporation. In talking to the sort of the main investor, he had indicated that the township's share in the voting shares is just under 10%. So if anybody was wondering what the actual ownership in this, it is about 10%. And just down in the, and I kind of touched on the allocation of the surplus, but one thing I will touch on now is the reserves. So we do see a decrease in the reserves in the current year, 1.855 down to 1.637. So there is an option with surpluses that exist to allocate those to reserve as well, which I assume you will want to do, and that'll bring the reserves back up to approximately $1.8 million at the end of the year, which, I mean, it's obviously very important to have these reserves in order to finance various projects in the future. Infrastructure is obviously a significant item, and some of the townships I've talked to right now, the biggest concern for them is the impact of inflation on some of the tenders that have been done, and really the impact on their purchasing power. So that's probably one of the biggest concerns I see this year, and I see it in Sault Ste. Marie, because obviously just watching the news and you see things, you see the tenders come out, and they're 10% above, 20% above, and it obviously makes it very difficult to plan large projects. I think the last area is segmented disclosures. It just looks at basically by department. There's really no major issues by department in this case. The numbers are kind of misleading at the bottom because we'd have to take into account capital asset purchases, reserve transactions. So take it for a grain of salt. It's just a required disclosure in this case. The last page on this financial statement just looks at the library board, and revenues were down year to year, 168 down to 145, and the costs were up slightly. So we did see a deficit of $4,500, but we do have to note that $20,000 is actually amortization expense, which is a non-cash item. So really, when we're looking at the library, there was an overall operational surplus in the current year. So I'm happy to take any questions regarding these financial statements.
Thank you, Nathan. Go ahead, Melissa, please.
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions. Can you tell us what the material misstatement threshold is for this year?
Yeah, sorry, I should have had that open. Let me just look that up so I give you the exact number.
And another question, I just have another question in regards to the Hornepayne Housing Corporation. So us taking on their Northern Credit Union debt, that's going to impact the township's annual repayment limit?
You're correct. Yes, it would. Yes. It has to be taken into account. All entities that the entity and all entities controlled by the township have to be included in that.
Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, and materiality in the current year. So materiality in the current year is $76,700, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Nathan, any questions, comments, observation from members of council, please? Go ahead, Council Para, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Stepanek. I was just wondering, when we're writing up this report, is there any advantage to having a Hornepayne Housing Corp kind of separated so we can see it as an individual item rather than including it?
Yeah, well, we have no choice from accounting rules, but to include it. It's kind of strict on that. I can have a note disclosure showing what the actual impacts of Hornepayne housing are within these statements as well. That is something that's allowed, but I can't take it out on the face of the statements, but I can have a note disclosure.
Okay, thank you. That's a great explanation. That would be helpful for the Housing Corp to monitor their expenses as well.
Yeah, and there will be standalone statements for the housing corporation as well. I'm just trying to get those approved by anytime we do a new entity, I have to get it approved by my national office. They have to actually say that they look fine. So the numbers are fine. I just have to get them to say that the statements look okay.
Thank you very much.
Great, great question, Council Para. I think that's really wise, especially when new council coming on board after the elections. You never know, and it will give them a better blueprint to see what is going on in that sector. I think that's a great suggestion by Council Para. Thank you. Any further comments or questions from members of council?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Kistenmaker. I have an overall, just our observation. So, Nathan, overall, the budget it's a fair budget. It seems to be, we're not in dire straits like we were many years ago. We have some stuff to put into reserves. The amortization expenses really it doesn't give a true picture to a ratepayer when they look at the budget, because that started a few years ago, and it really put a little curveball into the whole situation because, as you said, $20,000. I'm specifically looking at the library. It's $20,000, but yet the library itself came in within the striking distance of the budget. It wasn't over by 20,000, so it's slightly, I think, misleading to a person, ratepayer, that is not accountant or CPA,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, the 0.1% of people who understand PSAB accounting. Yes, it would not be. They're not the most helpful statements.
right.
Yeah, unless you're. I would say unless you're dealing with a very large city, because their statements would look a lot different than what you'd see in a small city where things can really get skewed easily.
I see. Thank you. All right. Any further comments, members of council, observations, please? Being none, we need Gail mover in a second to accept the report, correct? All right. May we have a mover and a seconder, please, to accept the report as presented? Council Paroff, moved by Council Belinda Kistenmaker, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you much, Nathan, for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank everybody for being here tonight.
Great. Thanks you so much, and have a nice evening.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm gonna and make Gail the presenter here. Okay. I think we're
Great,
good.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. We'll proceed to transfer surplus to reserves, report as presented by our treasurer, Melissa. Would you like to make any comments, Melissa, prior to getting to the thick of the report, please?
No, I'm okay. I can take questions if there are any.
Okay. Members, council comments on Melissa's recommendation to the us as a council? Comments, ideas, input? Reading, I got a hard copy of, from the report. I'm looking at Melissa's rationale and the recommendation, and I would agree for first page, obviously her recommendation. She does work with numbers every day, and she will certainly know in which areas to have that, and I would concur with her. I'm not sure everybody else is the same feeling as I am, but I would agree with our treasurer's report as presented. Any comments, further comments or observations, please?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Barrow?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I agree with the recommendations.
Thank you. All right, then, if that's such a case, we'll proceed. May I have a mover for the treasurer's report as presented, please? Moved by Council John Paroff, and a seconder, please.
I'll second it.
Okay, and second by Council Peter Kistemaker. All in favor?
All right.
Carried. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Gail, please.
I didn't actually read the resolution yet for the two
I'm so sorry. I apologize.
transfers, so that's okay. We have a mover and seconder. So I'll just
Yes.
continue. So whereas
Thank you.
whereas the municipal auditor, BDO Canada LLP, has identified a surplus of $174,151 in the 2021 municipal operating budget and a surplus of $15,999 in the library budget. And whereas council deems it expedient and responsible to place this surplus into reserves for future use, therefore be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby authorize the client services manager treasurer to transfer the surplus into the following reserves: $70,020 into the levy stabilization reserve, $50,000 into the landfill reserve, $20,000 into the water and sewer reserve, $15,000 into the community improvement reserve, $10,000 into the 100th anniversary reserve, and $15,999 into the library reserve. Be it further resolved that the remaining amount of $9,131 will be placed in an election reserve to be established.
Okay, thank you. So we already had a mover and a seconder. We'll proceed then, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. And item number 7 under 7.1, bylaw number 19. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, there's one more. There's actually another resolution establishing the election reserve and then to actually transfer
Sorry, I
that.
didn't see that. I don't have a hard copy in front of me. I apologize.
That's okay. So Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby establish an election reserve fund for the purpose of ensuring sufficient funds are available for upcoming municipal and school board elections. Be it further resolved, that the initial contribution to the fund in the amount of $9,131 will be transferred from the 2021 budget surplus.
Thank you, Gail. May I have a mover, please? Council John Pero, seconded by Council Belinda Kestemaker. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you so much. Okay, under item number 7.1. And I lost it. There we go. Adjournment, bylaw number 1932, confirmatory. Go ahead, please, Gail.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 1932, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at their special meeting held on Monday, May 30th, 2022, be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed.
Thank you. May I have a mover, please? Council
I'll move it.
Kistemaker, seconded by Council Peter Kistemaker. All in favor?
Aye.
Carry. Thank you. And item number 7.2. Gail.
Be it resolved, the council does hereby adjourn the special meeting of council held on Monday, May 30th, 2022 at 6:41 p.m.
Thank you, Gail. May I have a mover, please? Council Belinda Kistemaker, seconded by Council John Peroff. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. And thank you. Thank you, everyone.